What were chainsaws originally invented for?
Proctology.
Wow. That's scary.
Yeah, that's a...
Slicing an arse in half.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you were in the right area, I have to say.
What?
I mean,
Really?
well,
Circumcision.
Well, what I mean is, you began straight away with medicine. You didn't say trees or, you know, cutting down
cutting off legs.
buildings.
Bones and
bones is the right answer. Yes, in particular, it was a rather unpleasant procedure.
Oh, don't. It'll be a boy thing against a girl thing. It
well,
will
not
be.
against, you know.
Well, no,
it's doctors trying to help.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. It'll be a boy thinking a woman's taking far too long over labour, going, oh, I can't stand all that panting. I know, we'll get a chainsaw, we'll just cut that baby out. That's what it is.
You know, you're absolutely right. It was in 1783.
That's no excuse.
It was two Scots doctors called John Aitken and James Jaffrey, and it was called a symphysiotomy, and it was a procedure to widen the pelvis if the baby's head was too large to pass through.
Oh, can you hear the high tone of all those sighs?
About this picture.
It's a bit eye-watering.
It's a ladies' ward, so of course there is some baking going on
Yes.
in the left. Cake display cakes.
And I tell you,
Buns in the oven, Stephen. You see what I did there?
they didn't really, darling.
I'm afraid they did. When I say chainsaw, it was literally a chain. It was like a watch chain, in fact.
Right.
It was like an up and down.
lumberjack giving it... It's a boy!
They hadn't yet invented the internal combustion engine.
And caesarean sections.
Caesarean sections have replaced the same idea. That yes, quite, exactly. It's a bit of a relief.
The caesarean section, I think. Sawing the pelvic bone in half is not as easy as maybe just a small incision and...
But is there
I
not
know,
like...
you'd have thought they would have
Pop
made
it out the sunroof.
But this was before antiseptic... it was before antiseptic surgery, and, of course, it was before any kind of anaesthetic.
They're not a meeting. You know what I mean? There's not a meeting where someone goes, I've got it. And they go, what? They go, chainsaw, innit?
Well, they looked at a watch chain and they said, you know, if we could sort of ease away the bone like that, rather than using a saw. I know, everyone's wincing.
Have we got another question that isn't about that?
Would it heal? Presumably not very well.
Well, they then went on to use the same thing. For example, if someone had a bit of diseased bone, they would do the same thing. They would sort of tick it in, then they'd go up and down like that, and then they'd do it lower down, and the two bits would fuse together, you know, have a stiff arm. But it would get rid of the diseased bone. It was called an osteotome. It eventually became like a chainsaw. You can see one here.
My God.
That is more like a chainsaw.
You don't
Pretty
want
unpleasant.
That. You don't want that coming at you.
You really don't. You really, really don't.
I remember my wife had a baby, I remember it well. And, yeah, it was a grand day. It was a grand day. But when she had a baby, and there's a point where you go in to see the fella who's going to sort it out on the day. That's him, yeah. He's got an official title. And you go in to see him, and as the husband, he says, right, you sit there on a chair, and then he pulls the curtain across. Yes. While him and your wife are in this thing, while he has a little dabble or whatever he's doing.
It's a bit intimate, isn't it?
It's a bit like you go, I've seen it, mate. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing... This is why we're here.
Well, you don't look when that happens, though, do you, at the moment of conception? Do you actually have a look? You're looking into... Surely. Sorry.
Stephen doesn't need to know, Jason. He doesn't need to know.
You're gazing lovingly into her eyes.
Gazing lovingly at the Born Identity, which is still on the television. As you reach for your drink.
What do you think, darling, that he's got a periscope at the moment?
I'm sorry.
I don't know why you and I are having this conversation.
After the invention of the internal combustion engine, where we were getting Jeremy to his home territory now, eventually by 1920 they were small enough to be able to have a hand-powered
cut down trees.
And then they cut down trees, exactly. Well, anyway, there you are. Chainsaws were originally invented for midwives.